Hello guys, I am Yasir and this is part 19 of ASP.NET MVC series, and today we are going to do something interesting, that is we are going to register and log in our users. So for that let's quickly switch to Visual Studio and let's try to understand what we want to achieve. So because we want to register some users, for that we need some model class. Let's say we want to add a new class, naming it as you may say it as users. So we want to make the table users in database 2. So if you have not watched the video where I add the migration or enable the migration or something like that, you can watch the previous videos before proceeding. So if you are following along, you can clearly understand why I am adding the key attribute, and that is for the making the this property as primary key and auto incremented. So I name it as int id, and again we must have some username here, and then we will have to use the password here, and more properties if you want to have in the user table, like the email address or mobile number or something like that, you can add them here. But let's quickly make this username required by using the required attribute. Likewise, we can make the password required by adding the required attribute likewise, and let's restrict the username to be minimum of 5 length. Like we will add here min length attribute, and we will pass the minimum length, as you can see the first argument, and I add in here 5, that minimum length of this username must be 5. And likewise we can add min length to the password attribute, and we can pass in here some minimum length, like minimum length must be 5. So username must be at least of 5 character long, and password must be at least 5 character long, and both are required, both are non-nullable. And the next thing is that the username must be unique. So technically we need every user to be saved as with unique username. So for that we add here index. I wrote the keyword index with capital I, then NDEX, and then I have here a suggestion for namespace. Let me add that namespace, and then I am going to make it is unique property to true. So by doing that we are adding this unique attribute. So guys, if you are making some string property unique, you need to add another attribute to make it unique. Only this attribute will not be sufficient to making it unique. You need to add one more property to make it as unique username. The property that is to be added is column and data type dot varchar. I think I am missing something, or I am forgetting something for that column, and we need to add type name here. Sorry, we need to add type name here. These things, once you have practiced, will never make you unclear anything. You can go back to your previous project and you can get some things back, and you can use in your current project, like I am using here. I am going to make it varchar. So these two properties are must to to be added before that property which you want to make unique, and that property is of type string, then this property is must to be added. Otherwise you will have some error on when you will run the project and things like that. So now we have just added three properties: primary key, id, username. The username is unique, and it has got required attribute, it's non-nullable, and its minimum length is 5. And likewise the password is required and its minimum length is 5. So now we have added the model class. The next step is to add its dbset property, so that we can add the migration and reflect this table to the database. I add in here user, and I name it as users. Okay guys, I have named it as users. And the last but not least is to add the add migration and update database. Now if you have watched my previous video, in that video I have told you two methods to update the changes or to reflect the changes to the database. Here I will be using update migration method, and you can use only I will be using here add migration and then update the database, but you can use only update database command if you have already set these properties to true. But in my case I am going to add new migration, and it is good practice if you are doing something minor, like you are changing some column name or data type or deleting some property. It's up to you. You can directly update the database or you can add the migration, but here I feel comfortable by adding some migration because I have added new table. I add the new migration here and I name it as user table edit. So I named this migration as user table added, and this will show up here under migration folder. And then I will need to run one more command, that is update database, and then the table that the model class that we have just created must reflect in database, and our table must be ready somewhere here under this tables folder. So you can clearly see here what this migration will do. The up method is clearly saying that it will create a table naming as users, and it is going to create an id, that is identity, and it's also primary key, and it's creating another property named as username, and it's nullable false, meaning it's non-nullable, and its max length is 8000 characters. And likewise we have password, and it's also non-nullable. And you may see here the id is primary key, and we have added one more thing to the username, that is we created an index on username that it's unique and it's true, meaning that the username is never repeated in the database, or database schema never allows duplicate usernames. Okay guys, we will test it in a while. So far we have added migration, but we have not updated the database, so that's why even if we refresh the table we will never get the table, because we have not run the update database command. So for that we write the update dash database and we hit enter. Now if we have if we see here running seed method, that will be a hint that everything is going fine. So after that we will refresh the tables and we must see the users table, and this is the good sign here. Now let's refresh the tables, and now we can clearly see username and password here, and id is the primary key. Now you can add some users from here, or you can create your new controller for registering the users and then logging them in. So first thing first, let's add a controller. If you have anything confusing up till now, I will highly recommend you to pause the video, go back and make yourself understood everything up till now, because I am now going to add controller here. So if you have some confusion, go back and again rewind the tutorial and then you can click play from here. So let's name this controller as account. You can name it like user or users or anything, but I will suggest you to name the controller where you are going to register or login as account controller. So I am going to name it as account. Now we will be dealing with registering new user. In other words, how can we register? In register there is a behind the scene code that will actually create some user in the database. Like if and in every controller the index action method is responsible to list the number of objects in the database. So you can add logic here, because if our requirement is such that the accounts controllers index action method displays all the users in the database, for that we will be creating application db context object. First of all, a global object for this namespace or class, application db context, but this will have to be names using namespace code first dot models, and I name it as db and is equal to new application db context. Here is the application db context and it has got this constructor and these two properties. We will be using this property in the account controller. Like we have created this, let me minimize it, and like this as well. Now let's quickly get all the users in some variable. Like I use list user, I name it as users, or you can see users list, anything you name it, it's a variable name, it can be anything. db dot users dot to list, and you can pass this user list to this view so that we can render all the users to the view. So I pass in here user list. Now if you have some confusion how we can pass some data from controller to view, you can watch my previous videos and get clear everything about this. And let's add index action method, and this action method must be of type list, because we are passing list of students and we want to render them on the view, and we use the model class user, and we use the data context class as application db context. Let me add the view for this index action method, and definitely this is http get if we are not specifying it manually. So this is accepting list of users, and this is displaying their information. If I hit Control F5 here, this must list all the users in the database, and we know that there is no user up till now in the database, so we must only see this table heading for username and password, and this iteration for each loop will be empty because we have no user in the database. So it must work as expected. So let's see, because we were on the account / index view, so because we run the project from there, that's why this is already added, this URL account / index. This may take a while. So let's see what's happening behind the scene and how it renders the output. it's taking a while, please don't mind. We have to wait a while until it prepares the view for us, because it's running first time. It normally takes some time and then it displays the output, so be patient please. So this is how the view will look like. If we have 10 users, their usernames will be under this column and their passwords will be under this column. Let's quickly update this create link. If you mouse over this link, and you can see in bottom left corner that this will redirect to account/create action method, but technically we are going to name it as account/register. So we name it properly. We can add display text here, register new user, and let's create register action method in account controller, and let me register. This is okay. Now we go to the account controller, and let's quickly add two methods, http get and post, that is we use for creating some data. So it's register, and let me copy and paste it here, and again I copy paste here, because when we are going to create some entry in database, we use the http get and http post method, and you have understanding of http get and post method from previous videos, and if you have not watched those videos, I will highly recommend to watch those before proceeding. So let's make it http post, because we will be posting our form data to this your action method. Like we will be using user here, or I name it as user object, and we will be updating our logic in here. We are not passing list of student, and again we update this action method too. So if you are following along my videos, you can pause the video here and you can try yourself how can we register new user. So if you are wishing to try yourself, I make a pause of 3 to 4 seconds here, and when you have done your practice and you have stuck somewhere, or you have successfully done the thing, you can click play and match the results. How can we create or register new user? So when you are done, click play. So I hope you have done the practice by yourself. Now I create I register new user, and you can match it if you are stuck somewhere, or if you have done it, I will be saying it's a great job. So let's quickly add create view, because this is register, and in register we are technically going to make a create action method view, and for that we use the user model and application db coordinates, and we add here. So this will be adding the register view, and in register view we do what? We are actually preparing the form groups to collect the data from the user, and when we got the data from user, we are definitely redirecting to this action method, the post action method, and it will be definitely accepting the form values in user object. So now what we want to achieve? We want to save this user to the database, and that's it. Meaning that this user will be created in the database. In other words, this will be registered. So let's do it quickly. So because we have made the DB object of application DB context here, we can add it in any action method in this class. So let's quickly do that. db.users.add, and we are going to pass the user object here, and the last but not least is to db.save changes. So that's it. That's that simple to register some new user. So when you have successfully registered some new user, then you are going to redirect that user to login page. So let's quickly add some login page, and let the registered user ask to log in with his or her username and password. So for that, let's add an http get method here named as login, and that login method must be http get. So here login, and because login, and or let's stop it here, and let's quickly check if the if up till now we are going good. So when the user is created successfully, then we want to redirect to this action method, so that we can list all the all the users to this user list and pass it to the user list, this view, and we want to render all the users that have been registered so far. So let's quickly do that. Return redirect to action, and our action name is in here is index, because when we added some new user, we want to go to this action method, and we want to show all the users that have been created in the database. So let's quickly run the index action method of this account controller, and let's see if there is some user or not, and let's try to add or register some new user by giving some unique username and password. So here you will see, if we pass username with less than 5 characters, it will throw error, because we have set the Minleght property in user class in model folder, that we have restricted the property to accept at least 5 character long username and 5 character long password. If you try using less than 5 characters in anywhere, like in password or username, it will throw the client side validation that the username or password must be at least 5 character long. So let's see it's working. So you can see there is no user. Let's create new user. You can see in bottom left corner that this link will redirect to account/register action method, and it's definitely going to that action method. And let's add some new username and password. And one thing is, here we are going to write the password, and it's showing us the values, like it's showing the password characters here that must not be shown here. So for making that password like invisible, we must add one more attribute here, that is column data type dot password. Now because we are updating something here, data type, we are going to say here data type, and then we are passing the data type dot password. Now if we save the changes and we go back to the index action method and run the project, let's see whether it's working or not, even if we have updated something in our user class and not reflected those changes to the database. Let's see if it's working or not. It may take a while. I have run the project. Let's see if it's working. Let me check it. Oh, it's trying to run. Let's see whether it's working or not, we go to student slash we must go to users account slash index. That is, we want to populate list of users in the database. Let's see if it's working or not. Yes, it's working. Let's go to create. Now if I put something here, it is working. Now guys, you would be wondering, we are going to change something like data type dot password. Guys, there is no data type in SQL that is reserved for password, so that is the reason if we update something here, we need not to update the database. I again repeat, this kind of password, this kind of data type is not the part of our SQL classes or column data types, so that is why this kind of property does not need to update database or add migration, so that is why we are not adding them. So let me add some username with less than 5 characters and password less than 5 characters. You can see that it's saying the username and password string must be of minimum 5 length, because we have added here the min length attribute of 5. So if we do not pass it, it will also say that the password field is required. If we do not pass it, it will say the username is required, because we have added these required attributes in here, and because of this password data type we are seeing this password like fashion here. So let's quickly add admin and let's create. Now it will post to register post action method of register controller, and when it successfully adds the new user to the database, it will redirect to index action method. And because now index action method has successfully gathered the information of all the users, in here is the only one user because we have created one user, so it is listing them here. Let's again try to create the same username user. So because we have made the username unique, it will throw some error, and that will be technically true. I again want to add admin and admin password. It will throw the duplicate error. You can clearly see here, cannot insert duplicate key in row duplicate key row in object dbo users with unique index username. The duplicate key value is admin. The statement has been terminated. So this will never let the framework save the username with same name as is already saved in the database we have just seen. So let's go back and change the admin to admin user like, and now we are creating it successfully. So we have made up till now. You can practice it, and if you are stuck somewhere, you can rewind the video and get up to here, and then you can click play to go further in this tutorial. So let me go back to the account controller, and now as we have registered the user, now we try to log in the registered user if any. So let me uncomment it, and we can create an http get and post methods for logging in, because we are going to get username and password in get method, and we will post those values to the post action method of login, and we will check if that username and password exist in some row in user table. Then we will redirect the user to some authorized page. Otherwise we say him to again put username and password, because that may be wrong or invalid credential or something like that. So let's quickly try to understand how can we achieve that. Again we will be accepting user object here. So if you are following along my sessions, you can do a try from here. If you want to try, you can click stop here the video and you can try yourself, and if you stuck somewhere or even if you have done it successfully, it's great. You can log in by yourself by creating your own code, and if you stuck somewhere, please click play from here. So I start from here and I try to log in the registered user. For that I will again add a create view from here. Add, I select the create template and I add the model class as user and I click add. Now again I am adding the create view, and this view will get the username and password in username and password field, and when we click submit from here, we are definitely redirecting to post action method of login controller, that is here. So let me make it http post and this one is http get, and we have added create. And when we post the form values, we want to decide somewhere here if the username and password exist in the database. We can say him or her to that you are successfully logged in, otherwise we will say that you are not logged in, please try again or something like that. So for that, let's quickly code in here. So again we have db object here, we can use it down here in this action method. Let me create a boolean variable exists is user exists. So let me code in here db dot users dot any. So this any action method determines whether a sequence contains any element. In other words, this action method this built-in method will return true if the statement we pass in here returns true, else it will return false. So it will always return some boolean value. So let me fashion it. I will add in here so that the query may be clear. I am making it as user, or you can name it here x, because it's user table. I take the variable name as u such that u dot user in user table, where user dot username is equal to this user. Okay, we are going to use this. I can name it as user to not confuse it with this variable name. I again updated this object name to user to not confuse it with this. So users in users table, where user dot username is equal to this user that is being posted dot username and user in database dot password is equal to the posted user dot user password. So password. Okay, so I have just added this line of code here. I have splitted it to 2 lines to make it clear to you guys. Let me close it. Okay guys, so what this line of code will do, it is boolean variable, and we are using db.users.any if there is user in users table, where user.username is equal to this posted user.username, and password of the user in users table equates or matches this posted user.password. Okay guys, if this is true, we are going to say that you are logged in. So if is user exists, you can use something like this. This is same like writing it as true. So this line of code is exactly same if you only write in here. So it means if it's true, then you do something here, and if it's not, definitely that will be false, and in else part you can do something here. And in else part you are going to return the same view. We know if we return view only and we do not pass the view name, that means the MVC will definitely redirect to the same view which is matching the action method name. So if else part runs, that means login page will be displayed. So again we will do something here to show the user you are successfully logged in. For that, let's add an empty view and we pass some we write something there, like we will be adding our view in account because it's account controller, and we add a view where we can display some success message. I add view as logged in. Okay guys, now this, oh sorry, we have added a class, we delete it, we have to add a view instead of adding a class. Add view, and this must be empty. A view name must be anything you want to name it as. I name it as logged in. So empty without model, we do not need to pass any data to render this view. This can be called anywhere and we can render it because we do not need to pass any model object here. So let me change this heading to H2 and let me add a bootstrap class to make its CSS something more attractive. So I add text success to make it green. So I say here congrats, you are logged in. Okay guys, and if the user is not logged in, what we can do, we can use our account controller and here we can return the the view that we have just created, and that view name is logged in. This view must be present under this account controller with the same name you are passing here, otherwise this will not work. Okay guys, under account controller, and you have just created this view. So if the user exists in the database, this line of code will be executed, this line of code, because we are fetching the detail from here, and if that is true, we are returning logged in. Otherwise, let's create a ViewBag, and we pass in here, oops, invalid credentials. Now we know the beauty of this viewbag.fail or something. You name the viewbag, I name it as its variable name as fail. We know that whenever we use the viewbag variable on some view, definitely this will only be used in else part, and in else part we are returning view login, and in login you can use it somewhere. I go to login back and I use it somewhere here. Now you may think that this, how can this work? I add class here danger, text is danger, and I use the C# syntax to use that variable value. Now you will be wondering, when we first run it, it will not appear. Like I quickly run it here and this variable will not appear. It is because when we run it first time, it is going to come from the HTTP get method in account controller, and in HTTP get we are not populating the value inside this ViewBag. I am saying about this action method. When we first run it, we know HTTP get will work, and in HTTP get we are not preparing this ViewBag, and that's why you are not seeing the ViewBag value in the login. Let me quickly go to account/login to prove that there is no ViewBag value. We are just using it here. When we fail to login, we then populate the viewbag.fail variable, and we quickly, when we redirect from here to the login view, we want to show this error message. So that is programmatically being done. So now you can see there is no error message. So when we now as we have created all the things, let's go back. Now let me quickly rewind of how can we will be using this login page. Now when login will click, http get will fire, and we have made this view to get the user name and password, and when he or she posts his username and password, this action method will be executing, and here we check whether the username and password is correct. If it is correct, we go to the logged in user view, otherwise we are coming here, and here we are preparing ViewBag, and in that we have this value, and we are returning to login view, and in login view again we are using this h2 heading, and in that we are using the at viewbag.fill variable. So if it is filled with some data, it will appear, otherwise not. This is the beauty of ViewBag. So let me quickly add some invalid username and password here. So you will see clearly that here will be the ViewBag value displayed as h2 danger text heading. You can see here, oops, invalid credential. So now let's add admin and admin, because we have admin account. So that is the logged in. You can see here title logged in view has successfully rendered here. Now you can you can quickly add register and login links here to go to these action methods from header, register and login, and you can even add the link to this index action method to list the to view the list of users added in the database. For that, let's quickly add 3 links in the shared folder, because this is the part of our underscore layout file. So let's quickly add that so that you may use them in future for some reason. Let me quickly copy paste this. So firstly we want to users or all users. It is display text. We know this is the action method name, index, and the third one is the controller name. In our case it's account, and again we copy paste this to save some time. For login and for register and login, let's name it as register, and this is register action method, and account controller, and this is create or login, and action method name is also login, and this is account controller. Now quickly run it, and let's see if these links are working. And again you can mouse over on these links, and you can see in bottom left corner where these links will redirect to. Okay guys, so let's click on all users. These are all users. You can register from here, or you can click here to register. Like I go back, I register from here, I log in from here. This is login view, this is register view. So let me register another user quickly, like I name it Yasir login. So Yasir is created. Let's login from this view. I pass Yasir but invalid password, invalid credential. Now I pass the correct password, and now I am logged in. So that's it for this tutorial guys, and please do practice this all by yourself, and if you stuck somewhere you can pause the video, go back and listen to the things clearly. Guys, this is the model for you people to proceed for next things. Like tomorrow if you want to change something, to like you create new table and you want to customize it according to your wish, you can view this this code and act accordingly, like you have learned how to create a new user and how you can log in that user, and how you can put query on database to check whether something is happening based on some condition, some boolean condition, and if it exists you can use boolean variable without equal sign, because in if is exist mean if it is true, exist has got true value, then you can return direct view. Now this view does not need to be redirected through action method, because this view does not need any model data to be rendered. So because this is plain HTML, there is no need of creating any action method for it. Even you can create, but it does not need to. And this is what we want to achieve by using error messages. So you can achieve this, and again if you go back to model controller, you can understand things from here and you can utilize these concepts in next models. So guys, please do subscribe my channel if you haven't subscribed so far, and do like the videos and share with your friends. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening and have a great day.